Hey everybody, welcome to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid Energy with Dalton Johnson. I'm Kerith Burke. Somehow, we're going to try to differentiate this show from the previous shows that we've done when the Warriors have been on the road. When we've talked about defense being an issue, when we've talked about slow starts for the Warriors. The Warriors lost this game by 21 points. It was a game that they were favored, and the Grizzlies had a massive first quarter, 48 points. And Dalton, I'm just curious. Let's start with you. What was the first time you said "uh-oh" during this game?
I mean, it didn't take too long, right? It was right away. I mean, this is the 7th straight game that the Warriors have found themselves in a double-digit hole in the first half. They still haven't had a lead after the first quarter in 11 straight games now. And in this three-game road trip, they allowed over 40 points per first quarter. Simply can't happen. You know, I mean, I think that's what's so frustrating is that you go from this homestand, and then you would think that, okay, this is March, this is ramp-up time, this is playoff time.
Yeah, just got Steph back.
Exactly, right? Yeah, everything is starting to kind of come together the right way, and knowing you even have other reinforcements coming too with Wiggins, with GP2, all of this. So how can you not have that drive in the first quarter? That's where I think fans, coaches, the players too are still scratching their head right now and going, I don't know. Yeah. And the I don't knows are just piling up way too often at this point.
Yeah, fans are definitely reaching an exasperation point. You can tell the team is too. But coming into this game specifically, after they lost to the Lakers, after they lost to OKC, after they said the same things about, guys, we really need to get it together, strengthen the defense, can't have these slow starts, what did they do immediately in this game?
They fell into a giant hole once again right away. Yeah. So it's a defense too, right? As we've been saying over and over and over again, you know, and it's miscommunication. It's if someone beats somebody, you see them look back and expect help. The help's not there. It's an open corner three-pointer. It's having your guy blow right past you. So everything that you're looking for defensive-wise, it's just not happening. Look at this right here.
Yeah.
It was the first play of the game was a defensive breakdown. Yeah. So you asked me when did I first go, uh-oh.
Yes.
The first play of the game was a defensive breakdown.
That was the moment in the newsroom where everyone groaned.
Right?
It was like, oh no, did we just see this from tip-off that this was going to be the same type of game? Now, the Grizzlies are #1 in the league in points in the paint. The Warriors know that as well. But there was another component of this, because if the Warriors are going to say, all right, we might sag off some of their shooters, Dylan Brooks, #1, the Grizzlies had 5 3-pointers by the game's first timeout. They had 8 in the first quarter. So the Grizzlies were getting anything they wanted. The Warriors defense was not making it difficult for them. There was something that is a little bit different that we can differentiate in this show. The Warriors started with a different starting lineup. They went with 4 guards. Kevon Looney came off the bench. How do you think that experiment went?
Bad. There's my one-word answer for you. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And you know, again, they were down. That Warriors starting lineup basically played just under 5 minutes together in the first quarter. They were outscored 24-12. The rest of the time, that 5-man group together basically played another minute together. I mean, they pulled the plug pretty quickly. I mean, just the numbers are staggering right here. They played 5 minutes and 55 seconds together in the entire game. Outscored 28-16. The Warriors, that 5-man group together, shot 4 of 8 from the field. They missed all 3 of their 3-pointers. The Grizzlies were 6 of 7 on 2-pointers, and they went 5 of 7 on 3-pointers. So they were having everything they could have. And, you know, we talk so much about how offense leads to defense, defense leads to offense. These things, you know, go hand in hand. If you're not making your shots, if you're not getting these stops, the Warriors aren't able to go out and run like you want to with this quick, you know, 4-guard lineup basically with a 6'6" Draymond Green playing center. But if you're not able to make the stops and your shots just aren't falling, then at some point you're going to have a disadvantage, and they did have a disadvantage tonight.
Yeah, there was a distinct size advantage tonight. The very first question that Steve Kerr got post-game was, why did you choose to go with this 4-guard lineup? He explained his thinking. Take a listen.
We've gotten off to bad starts, 6, 7 straight games, so we were looking for a little daylight, you know, early in the game. You know, Memphis is a good defensive team, so we wanted to spread them out and hopefully get some good shots early. We didn't do that. We were impatient early, and we took some really tough, quick shots, and I didn't think we got organized well enough. So I think in hindsight, probably got a little too cute with that. But we are where we are. We're searching a little bit on the road, and took a gamble with that, and it didn't pay off.
Yeah, Steve Kerr explaining the gambit there. It didn't pay off, got too cute with it. So some of this falls on Steve Kerr's shoulders. This was a misfire. When the team is talking about how the little things are amplified on the road, how there's such a small margin of error, this was an error tonight going with this lineup.
It was, and I do like the fact that he took the accountability, that he said, hey, we probably got a little too cute with it. And of course, he is in a tough hole right away. Where you lose Jonathan Kuminga in pregame warmups, no one can expect that. You don't have Andrew Wiggins for a 10th straight game. These are all curveballs that you could never expect, right? So that's tough for Steve Kerr right there. They're dealing with things that are out of their control, of course. But again, the switch just didn't work. You talk so much about how you trust Kevon Looney. This is a game right here where I just would have liked to see have that veteran, that steady presence to start the game. I understand wanting to go out there and use your speed, but again, if you're not able to make those stops and if you're just missing all the three-pointers that you're heaving, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you're right. Either the three-pointers have to go in or the defense has to be stronger, and neither happened for the Warriors. Now, I do wonder if there was something baked into that decision to start 4 guards and Draymond. Kevon Looney has been popping up on the injury report. He's got a sore back. Now he's playing. He played 19 minutes in this game. I wonder if because the front court is so thin, if there was a little bit of a protective measure in here for Looney. Because remember, we saw Steve acknowledge that this was a misfire, and Looney started the second half. So the gambit was over at that point. But I wonder if there are things where this is the time of year where guys are really feeling worn down, if Steve was trying to not only spark something different in the starting lineup, but maybe protect Looney too. Let's move on just a little bit because we need to talk about Steph Curry's game. He's been back for 3 games, and every single one of those games he's been the leading scorer. Steph doing Steph things, but with Dillon Brooks guarding him, this was still an efficient night for Steph. What did you think?
I think the efficiency is really what we need to call out because it's been 2 straight games where the efficiency has really been impressive, right? It's not like the first game against the Lakers, he was crazy inefficient. He had that fourth quarter that really brought the numbers up, obviously.
Yeah.
But for what he's done in these 3 games, look, Steph Curry's back. The Warriors aren't. We can't say that.
Yeah.
But Steph Curry has been back, and the efficiency has been great. We were seeing, look at him, John, right here with Dillon Brooks. I love to see it.
I do too.
Whenever you poke the bear with Steph Curry, good luck.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
It's usually a bad idea for the other team, especially in, I don't want to call it a rivalry, but a heated contest that they've been having with the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
So again, it's hard to really say anything bad about Steph Curry in general, but especially these 3 games coming back from his injury. But the efficiency, I think that's kind of the buzzword that's really stood out to me.
Yeah, well, I look at what Steph is doing, and then I look at what the rest of the team is doing, and I just want him to have more help. You look at the pace and maybe the fact that the Warriors only got 82 field goal attempts compared to 93 from the Grizzlies. The Warriors had 17 turnovers, so they stopped themselves from building any type of momentum. And then you've got a pest like Dillon Brooks, who's going to relish this game to see if he can mix it up with Steph or mix it up with Draymond. We saw some of that tape of him trying to get into Steph's head. I think Steph's head is pretty impenetrable. Draymond Green even didn't take the bait. Remember, let's roll the tape of this one, because Dillon Brooks and Draymond Green, it was like Dillon Brooks was in Draymond's armpit. This is him still trying to pester Steph, but I don't know. Dillon Brooks wanted to try to do some Dillon Brooks things. And listen, ultimately the Grizzlies got the win tonight. The Warriors' response was, well, this is a regular season win in March, but how did you think? There it is, right? What is that? What is that right there? Let's talk about this, because Draymond actually said if he had responded in the wrong way, that could have been a double technical. Here's Draymond's explanation for what was happening there.
He thought he would bait me like he gets baited. I get technical fouls when I want to get a technical foul. I don't get baited into technical fouls. And so I think that's probably the difference in between me and him. If I do that to him, it'd be a double tech because he'd respond. But it's not a double tech because I didn't respond, So one of us are baitable, one of us aren't. And that's just kind of how it goes.
First time I saw that sound, I didn't notice that Draymond had his left hand in the ice pack there. Draymond is fully aware that if he gets one more technical, he's going to be suspended. So Dillon Brooks has already reached that suspension point this season. But what did you think about Draymond trying his best to play with fire, but also being very aware that he can't take any bait?
I think he did a good job of handling it, right? I thought this was a big test for him, as we expected going into it. He knows where his technicals are at. Steve Kerr was asked about it pregame, and he essentially said, hey, he's never crossed the line in the regular season. But, so he's basically saying, I never have to really say anything to Draymond. I trust Draymond so much, been around him for this long. For Dillon Brooks' case, I hope Draymond has some good Old Spice or something else, because that was an interesting situation.
Right. Did he lick his arm or something? Definitely smashed his face. I don't know what was going on there. You do you, Dillon. I don't know. Not for me. But overall for Draymond, look, Draymond played a good game. I mean, he had the pace going. He played strong. You talk about 16 points, 7 assists. He filled up the stat sheet as we expect. 5 rebounds as well. The 5 turnovers are something that is glaring. Again, any little margin for error in these games was obvious, right? Any kind of turnovers. You already brought up the 17. So overall, though, Draymond played a good game. He kept his cool. And again, he still is right on that verge with one more technical before getting that suspension. But he didn't take the bait. Yeah, Dillon Brooks had that profile on ESPN where he said, I don't like the Warriors, I don't like Draymond. Draymond, of course, responded on his podcast. So we were thinking, ooh, this might be a spicy one. Like, I don't know that there were necessarily a lot of fireworks in this game. How did you feel?
The bad blood was more between Steph Curry and Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, that was interesting.
More than anything else. Draymond was pretty quiet. We saw right there. He kept his cool. JaMychal Green was the one who ended up getting, I think it was the only technical foul of the night with that elbow right there.
That's funny that we're talking about the only technical of the night in this one. Yeah.
But again, it was a get your popcorn ready kind of night.
Yeah.
The good thing for us, for the NBA, for everybody, is that 9 more days, they're back in Memphis.
Yes.
So again, if you don't have your popcorn ready tonight, get it heated up for 9 days from now. These two teams again in Memphis.
Okay.
Like, the NBA knows what they're doing as far as the schedule making when it comes to that.
Yeah, very smart. So the Warriors took the first 2 games in this series. The Grizzlies took the third, and now that 4th game is back in Memphis. I was talking to the Grizzlies sideline reporter. She's like, they will never forget that Christmas game because they felt so embarrassed. So for the Grizzlies, they hang on to the idea that they're making this a rivalry. Draymond said it's not a rivalry because you haven't won anything. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I think it's fair. I think it's, I'm trying to find the right words for it then, right?
Yeah, it's something. There's something
where I was kind
here.
of using the air quotes earlier, heated contest, where it's like, hey, we can't be faulted for calling it a rivalry. We know the bad blood's there. But again, you talk about one team who has won 4 of them, won 4 of these rings.
Yeah.
Another team who has not got past the second round in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Talk all you want in March. What matters is June.
Yes.
And the Warriors know that. The Grizzlies, they know that, but they're trying to feed off of this as this young and fun group.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes you manufacture an enemy. Sometimes you manufacture the chip on your shoulder, anything that can spark you. And the Grizzlies are a young and up-and-coming team. And if they're looking to find that edge, why not try to put a target on the backs of the champs? They got the win tonight. All right, so the Warriors 7-26 on the road. We need to see what's coming up on the schedule. How many road games are left? Let's talk about that and how fans are reacting. Some of their predictions coming up on Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
Hi, friends on YouTube. Ooh, the spices in the comments. We've got a fire Kerr. We've got Frankie saying it's time for a new coach and players on the Warriors. Listen, I know this win feels like crap. Okay, this was a 21-point loss in a game where the Warriors were favored after you've had to sit here and listen to the Warriors say, we got to get better, we have to do this. Okay, I don't think Steve Kerr is getting fired because the team won a championship last season and they are still in playoff contention. So we all just need to take a deep breath. I think anytime, any sort of decision about whether Kerr is going to leave will very likely be Kerr's decision. Let me just say that.
As it should be.
Okay, you don't even have to add anything there if you don't want to.
It should be as simple as that.
Yeah, don't have to add there. Andrew was saying that was a pathetic and lazy game by the Warriors. Ajmer is saying we need a refresh on the roster. That's interesting because what would that look like? And the Warriors haven't I feel like they haven't even seen their whole roster this season. Injuries have been really tough for this team. You can't always see injuries. I know that sounds like a broken record, but when the Warriors use their 23rd different starting lineup, when you're trying to find some sort of consistency and chemistry, that's difficult. That's just the reality of things.
Well, how often does Steve Curry use the word cohesiveness as far as what he thinks is so important, not just for the Warriors, but any team in the NBA? He talks about the Grizzlies as far as they've had this, they've been building this, right? The Warriors have had that for so long. Sure, they still have the core with the big three with Andre Iguodala. But when you just don't have that the full season, it feels like there's just something loose in there, right? So they haven't been able to get the glue together that they need to just put this whole puzzle together.
Yeah.
It's been missing.
It's weird that we're talking about this in March,
It
too.
sure is.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by FitAid. So this game started on a weird note to begin with. Jonathan Kuminga was expected to add to this defense, was expected to help protect the rim, grab some boards. He wasn't in this game. Something happened very early, and you saw the video.
Yeah, he rolled that right ankle during, these pregame warmups. Look at this right here, where he's just basically finishing a dribbling right here. Gathers,
Planted, yeah.
And look at that right ankle roll. Look, he's probably going to finish a layup or a dunk, use that athleticism that we've seen. The good thing is he walked off on his own, but he's obviously limping. We were told that x-rays were negative and that he did leave the arena in a walking boot. So it's just so frustrating because we've talked about losing cohesiveness. We've talked about the injuries this year. Look, the game before, he rolled his left ankle early in the first quarter. So he was already on the injury report today as probable. And then he has the right ankle and he's back in a walking boot. So we don't know what the timeline is right now for Jonathan Kuminga, but it's just too bad. Because especially, he started off on this road trip a little bit tough. The game against the Lakers was a day to forget for him.
Sure.
But he rebounded really, really strong. He responded to that really, really strong in that loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. He scored 21 points. He was +3 in the loss, 8 for 11. So again, a very, very good response for Jonathan Kuminga. And then that happens.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I actually had missed that postgame that he left the arena in a walking boot.
Yeah, so he left the arena in a walking boot.
Okay.
X-rays negative. But again, we don't know what's going forward. Hopefully the walking boot is just a precaution, but you have just the way the schedule is, the way that the standings are. You're facing the Bucks, the Suns. You need anybody you can have. And you would think his athleticism, his defense, that's huge against those two type of teams,
Yes,
right?
it is. Yeah, that athleticism was missing tonight. So the Warriors are suddenly in a situation where, they've got to play their 23rd different starting lineup. This group had not been together for a lot. How many minutes?
12 minutes. That five-man group had played 12 minutes. They were an 18.5 net rating, so they had a good small sample size.
Sure.
But again, as you said, 23 different lineups, 4 straight games with a new, unique starting lineup. It's hard right now.
Yeah, lack of consistency, slow starts, so many things are tied together. And Dalton, before this game, I mentioned you had put out a tweet. You were asking people with 16 games left, again, coming into this Grizzlies game, what were their predictions? And I saw that you had more than 150 people respond to you. We're not going to show you every one of those, but what were some themes that you were hearing from fans about their predictions for how the Warriors win this season?
I would say Dub Nation was really into this one for sure. One, had their voice heard, and it was a lot of kind of right in the middle of the pack. We've seen this team be around 500 for so long this season. A lot of people said 8 wins. A lot of people said 7-9, 9-7. So, I think that the really highly optimistics, there might have been a few 12-4s, maybe 1 or 2, say 16-0s. Sorry, you're wrong. But for the most part, it was right in the middle of the pack right there, because that's what this team has been. A lot of 8 and 8s, a lot of 9-7s, a lot of 7-9s.
Yeah, I didn't respond, but I did give it a quick scan in my head, and I was like, looks like 8 to me. So 8 for 8. And you're right. That feels like a safe pick because it's right at the baseline of where the Warriors have been this season, a 500 team that is an average team. But they really need to do better than average if they don't want to be a play-in team. Like, they could still make the playoffs, but they could make it a lot easier for themselves if they were above that line that hovers in between 6 and 7. Can I put you on the spot and ask for your prediction?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
until I see this core of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson be taken down, I'm going to remain confident. I'm going to say that they're going to be able to get over that line, but it's so eye-opening when you hear Steph Curry talk about, hey, we're going for a championship, but we're also going to not be in the play-in tournament. Like, those are two such different, goals to be reaching for. So my prediction right now is that they still are going to be a top 6 seed, but I don't want to lean so hard on wait till we get Wiggins back. Wait till you get GP2 back. It's not fair to them, and we just haven't seen this consistency. So keeping the confidence in those big 3 now, but you got to continue to show us more and more.
Okay, thanks for putting that question out there. All right, when Dubstock Live, brought to you by Fit Aid, returns, we're going to pour over that schedule, really take a look at the standings, and break down exactly where the Warriors stand after this super tough loss.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
Okay. Yeah, the schedule. The schedule first, right? Not the standings, the schedule? Okay. Okay. All right, we're back on YouTube. Andy is asking, Dalton and Kerith, do you figure there's some behind-the-scenes stuff happening that's leading to all these troubles on the road? I think that's difficult, especially for me to answer, because I don't travel with the team anymore. My first 3 seasons were as a sideline reporter. I got to see all that behind-the-scenes stuff. I can tell you, after losses, players are much more blank after a loss. Like, they don't necessarily carry it home on the plane. That doesn't mean that they don't care, but it means that their job requires them to really have that goldfish memory and move on to the next one. So it's not like they're stomping around, they're not pissed off at each other necessarily, they're not like sulking on the plane. But you have to think, when you're 7 of 26 on the road, this does accumulate. Something is happening. I know they're not satisfied right now, but I have no idea if that means something is happening behind the scenes and they're fracturing. I just don't know that. No, and I wouldn't expect you to either. No, I turned to you like I'm looking for some analysis.
No, it's just so hard. You're right. Because we're hearing so many of these different responses as far as, I wish we could tell you. I mean, whether it's Steve Kerr, whether it's a veteran, whether it's a new guy. You know, I mean, whenever I'm in the locker room, home or away, it's not like you see like this vast difference as far as before the game. Also, they're on the road and they're quiet and turned away. That's not how it is, right?
Yeah.
But just to be searching for answers on March 9th, that's where you're going, what's going on here? Is there something that we're missing? And I think that's where everyone's just a little bit still confused.
Yeah, the Warriors are also very protective of what happens in their locker room. If any of those conversations or blow-ups are happening, they are very careful not to do that in front of reporters. Hey everybody, welcome back to Dubstock Live, brought to you by Fit Aid. All right, a look at the schedule, because thank goodness the Warriors are coming home, but what waits for them is a game against the team with the best record in the league. That is the Bucks. That is on Saturday. They follow that up with the game against the Suns. We know no KD in that game. He's still dealing with his ankle injury, but the Suns are ahead of the Warriors in the standings. After that, my friends, the Warriors go on a 5-game road trip. I believe the Warriors have 8 road games left this season. The road has been a trouble spot for them. All right, let's take a look at the standings when you have a chance, unless you have anything about... Nope, standings? Standings? All right, there you go, thank you. So this loss today dropped the Warriors into 6th place, and it's interesting, with that 34-33 record, you can see a 3-way tie, basically, 6, 7, and 8, with Minnesota and Dallas chasing the Warriors. I'm going to keep an eye on the Lakers as well. They made some moves at the trade deadline to see if they can get better, although I think it would take a lot for them to start leapfrogging guys. So, yeah, the Warriors had that 5-game win streak. They were 4 games over 500. And then the road happened, Dalton.
And that's what the whole issue is right now, right? Is the fact that, to me, this game could either been a emotional lift or a letdown. Yeah. And you kind of came out with it with the shoulders dropped again, another letdown, right? Because we knew what this game was built at. We knew that we saw some emotions on the court in OKC too. So you were hoping that you can get this lift, get on that happy flight home, But that's just not the case right now, right? So if you look at the standings, how congested they are, the fact that you brought the Lakers, and I completely agree, when they're healthy, when you get LeBron James back with this way better balanced roster than what they had before the trade deadline, they're a team to watch out for. I mean, the Mavs, we know their offensive firepower. The T-Wolves are very up and down. They're right there with the Warriors, though, too. So you just look at the schedule going forward, and it's not like you can just circle all these teams, win.
Yeah.
There's really 2 games left that are against teams that are just completely out of the race, and that's the Houston Rockets and San Antonio Spurs. They're way more on the Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson watch than anything else, right? But that's 2 games. 2.
You know what? This season, those are not guaranteed wins for the Warriors.
And I'm so happy that you brought that up, right? Because before the season, you can look at the schedule.
No, you
circle,
can. You
circle,
can kind
circle.
of predict, yeah.
But we can't this season. Look at the games against the Magic. Look at the games against the Pistons.
Yeah.
They didn't go out and dominate those games. They lost them.
There have been games where the Warriors have absolutely pooped the bed. There's no other way. I'm sure there is another way to put it, but that's the way I'm going to put it.
I like that way, though. I like that one.
But no, just you cannot look beyond any type of opponent. Gosh, could you imagine if the Warriors had to play the Pistons again and face James Wiseman?
Oh, boy. Now that's a fun hypothetical right there. That is a fun hypothetical.
With the Bucks coming up next, I feel like Dante DiVincenzo would want to have a big game against his old team. Poor Dante, he is doing other things well for the team, but shooting-wise, it's been rough for him lately. 1 of 5, 0 for 4 for Dante. Okay, Bucks up next. Best record in the league, number 1 in the East. And just as far as defensive questions, who guards Giannis? And was it Brook Lopez who had 9
Brook
blocks
Lopez
tonight?
had 9 blocks tonight. Giannis didn't even play, and they still looked great.
Okay.
So that's a thing where you have these games against the Bucks and the Suns. We don't know if Giannis is going to play. We know Kevin Durant isn't going to play. 2 huge tests. And you would hope that, at the very least, you're competing for all 4 quarters.
Of course.
But when you go 5-0 on a homestand and then 0-3 on a 3-game road trip, no matter, even if they win both of these games, you almost feel like, okay, great to see. But what's it really telling me if you can't even get this done on the road and can't fully show up for 4 quarters against the Grizzlies in Memphis?
Yeah.
And that's just kind of my overall feeling right now of disappointment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And when the Warriors have done well in the playoffs, winning at least 1 road game in every series for, I want to say, 3 seasons now, the question I have is, how do we know they're going to win on the road in the postseason when their body of work in these 82 games has not been strong? I don't know about their ability to flip a switch right now. So this has been tough for the Warriors. They are still trying to figure out who they are, how to be accountable to each other, and this is in March. And this is concerning. All right, we'll see how they do when they get home. For Dalton, I'm Kerith. Thank you so much for joining us on Dubs Talk Live. All righty. Morris says they are not beating the Bucks even at home. I do think this will be one of their biggest challenges of the season.
The Bucks are good.
But you just don't
deep.
know. Fire Hoop says Jordan Poole should be attacking the basket more. Jordan Poole, I believe, was perfect from the stripe tonight, 10 for 10.
That actually,
Yeah.
I completely agree with, and,
Yeah.
and that's something where early in the game, he was doing that.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is where Jordan should use his speed, because he got to the line the first time. Then he blew right past his defender and got the layup in.
Yeah.
His three-point shooting has just been off this season. It just has.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough to find it this late in the season. But use that quickness to your advantage, and the fact that you were the free throw champion last year. And even though he's not going to be the champion again this year, he's still going to be in the high 80s at the
where you
very
can get
least.
your points from.
Yeah, 22 points, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. That should be his bread and butter right now, not staying at the three-point line. Take the ones that are open. But use that speed because it is an absolute gift for Jordan Poole.
Yeah, take the ones that are open, but he's probably in that really crummy in-between space where he's like, I'm a shooter. I need to shoot to hit more threes. Shooters want to shoot. But if you're slumping, you hurt your team. But how does he get out of a slump? So I don't know. This is kind of the thing where the mental toughness a player has to have to keep that belief that
Right.
I'm okay, I'm good, I can do this. Like,
And at 23 years old,
Yeah.
when you came into the season, we know what happened when everyone saw. We know we had the contract extension. You talk about it, there's pressure there. There simply is, and I think that this has been a little bit more of a mental battle than we expected for Jordan Poole after his breakout season last year. But I think that there's a lot of different variables this year, but it definitely has been a little bit more of a struggle physically and mentally combined than he expected and that we expected as well.
yeah, there you go. All right, I think we covered a lot of stuff tonight. Thank you for joining us after what was a tough game to watch. We'll see you again Saturday for more Dubs Talk.